And now we're going to talk about taking a technology and implementing it. AI, to be specific. So, in the past you said that IT had its own department, and now it's like across all companies. And I don't know if AI and data science is like this going forward, right? Maybe AI and data science is no longer a single department. Maybe AI and data science should also go across the entire company. I guess we'll hear more. We have a panel that's going to discuss the obstacles, but also the opportunities of practical adoption to this. And I think some of the challenges when it comes to AI is real time, right? You want those data. I mean, we heard it from the minister earlier on, but he wants those data from calling people trying to type in their 96 questions, and we're not quite there yet. We also need something about data coverage, right? Do we actually have enough data? We had a talk earlier by Danny Lange, challenged him on systemic discrimination. That was not the purpose and topic of his talk, but the point is the same. We need enough data for the model to actually work. And then, of course, there's everyone's darling, GDPR, whatever, with all of that and what that entails for each and single one of us. So, obstacles and opportunities when it comes to AI. Please welcome the panelists up on the stage.
All right. Grab a seat here. So, let's get it started. This session is a bit about, everybody is talking about AI. It's really the hottest ticket out there right now. In this session, we will try and cut a bit through the hot air and get into the actual implications and practicalities of implementing AI. So my name is Mikael. I'm the moderator on this. I have the pleasure of heading up the new tech team in KPMG, where we are doing a lot of machine learning and actually implementing AI machine learning. And to dive deeper into the topic, we got Camilla on stage from Spenderlog, Mikael from 2021 AI, and Ilya from WaveAccess. So thank you very much for having us. Let's dive into it. The first question, guys, would you mind briefly introducing yourself and then saying a bit about what is your latest interaction or use of AI?
Yeah, so I start. So I'm Camilla from Spenderlog. Spenderlog is an app for the user to have a deeper insight into a very fragmented spending, so not on the transactional level that banks do, but on the level of how many apples and how many bottles of milk you buy. So it's an app that both help you with optimizing spending for financial reasons, but also to improve your health or whatever your focus may be. And we use AI to read and understand the receipts on a line level and to translate it into insights.
Cool.
That's a short one.
Thank you. I'm Mikael Munck. I work in 2021 AI, and what we do is we help corporates, mainly large corporates, for the practical adoption of AI. So we meet a lot of different cases out there. Most importantly, they struggle to find the right people, data scientists, to define machine learning models, etc. And next phase there is once you get going with that, and if you're a little bit successful on that front, you need technology, right? You need technology to support your ambitions here. And that is basically what we do in the one corner for people who's interested in technology. We find a lot of people, they don't care about technology. They say, you can call it AI, you can call it whatever you want. We just want it in there. So could you please offer us a service where we both offer the machine learning modeling, the definition of the use cases, and then the actual implementation. So we meet a lot of interesting companies out there in this regard.
Cool. And Ilya?
Thank you. My name is Ilya Feigin. I'm with WaveAccess. I'm a founder of this company. We have 300 developers, and we do all kind of custom development. We use machine learning. We have been using machine learning for the last 2 years. We actively use it for healthcare in order to predict the cost of treatment, the new diagnosis. And also we used machine learning for logistics, in particular for vessel navigation. We were awarded by Microsoft as a partner of the year in Russia for this particular project. We do all kind of custom development, and machine learning is just one of the specialization. Thanks.
Perfect. Thank you very much. I think that the first question, I think maybe we start with you, Camilla, and ask you, what are some of the areas where you see AI being able to generate the most value?
There's a lot. I think coming from my point of view, where we use it as we do in Spenderlog, I think that there's a lot of insight to be generated by the use of AI to help all of us improve our lives in different directions. I think, so to keep it simple, AI is just faster processing of very good statistics. And given the processes we have today, we can do so much more than what we've done up until now, which means that we, not only in direct user contact, but also from business to business, can be much more relevant in what we do. We can do more effective and convenient solutions for tons of things. To see how it's spreading right now, that now we're talking about logistics, and it's in health, we're putting it into everyday grocery shopping. Mikael is putting it into every kind of business. But a lot of my former employers are also looking into this. So I think there's no limit actually to where we can improve stuff with this tool.
Cool. And from your point of view, Mikael, what do you think the best or the biggest opportunities to generate value?
I'm on the same line as Camilla. I think we see in the beginning of a journey, and AI is going to be transformational in many companies. It's not yet in most companies. The only one who's really been sort of really successful with this are sort of the core, the tech unicorns. They've been able to use this to the full extent. And really the job for all of us now is to better understand the applications in our own companies and really embrace this transformation, because once we start implementing these technologies, it's also a organizational transformation, it's the way we work, it's the way we produce our products, it's the way everything, right? So we are on a very early stage, and again, what I see is that the traditional payback time on AI, it's sometimes weeks, months. It's not like when we sat down and did the calculations in the old days on IT projects. This is going to take years before. It's not like that. So the business cases are phenomenal for the moment.
Cool. What about you? Your vision on that, Ilya?
Yeah, I think that machine learning and artificial intelligence definitely can help in different industries. So far, we saw it actively in healthcare, when you can actually do risk identification and risk management. Also, in all kind of logistic and navigation, so you can predict the trajectory of your vessels and eliminate collisions. Also, in many financial organizations, you can judge if your customer actually will be effective for you based on machine learning stuff. So, yeah, it's applicable to all kind of businesses.
Okay, so as you can hear here, the opportunity space is enormous, and I think a lot of us feel the same. But I guess there must also be some challenges with doing this. So I'm thinking, Mikael, what do you see? What are the most common pitfalls or challenges with getting this technology up and running?
I think if we look at the audience here today, most are startup. That's the biggest group. The second biggest is the more established companies. And I think we have two very different kinds of challenges. I believe in the startup environment, it is more to find people who really understand this, who really can build a model, and don't claim they can do that, and that's difficult. Very often people will contact me and say, Mikael, could you please point me to a fantastic CTO or fantastic data scientist? I have this great idea. I think it's the other way around. I think the scarce resource is the brilliant people on the technical and data science side. It's not the ideas. There's tons of ideas out there. So that's a challenge on the talent side. If we look on the more established companies, it's a different challenge. The challenge there is really that if you run a big organization, changing that organization, embedding a algorithm to do people's job, putting this in your production environment, that's a huge process in any big organization. And you don't just do that. You don't just pick up your portable PC with an algo and go down to IT and say, please put this in production. It's just not going to happen. And that's what we see. And that's where a platform like we are working with will come to great use over time. A lot of people they're not there yet, but they will get there. And they will certainly get there when they have 5, 10, 100 models in production. It's going to be very, very difficult for people to maintain.
I guess, Ilya, that you are part of the solution on the talent side. I could imagine that you would say that at least. But what are some of the normal challenges that you are seeing?
Yeah, I think that, as speakers said before, that the biggest challenge is to get the right data. And very often it might be that your customers or your management would be able to provide you with the data if you proved that there is value. So very often you can split your work into several stages, do first proof of concept with the data which you have and show that there is value. And the second challenge, again related to the data, is legal. Sometimes some data cannot be received, so you should be able to work with de-identified data sets and train on it, and then to have your program be able to adopt in real life. Also, it might be an issue for startups is to work with reasonably limited computers, so the computers which don't have enough power. The good answer right now is to go to the cloud, to use Amazon, and this will be the answer.
Perfect. And the same question to you, Camilla.
Yeah, so I subscribe to the data issue, and yes, we use Amazon. I also completely subscribe to the competence issue, because before I did startup, I was in a very big bank in this country, in the Nordics also. And competence is always an issue in this area. And it's not new, because it's always been an issue in kind of growing areas. So it'll be for a while. But to be honest, I think that the biggest obstacle in this is the hype around it, because people kind of think that they should use machine learning and AI for everything now. So simple stuff that could be done with an old-fashioned regression, people want AI. And I think that the biggest obstacle is, and I guess Mikael see this as well, that people think they need it more than they maybe do, and they are not able to kind of contain the problem that they want to solve with it. And they're not able to distinguish the problems that should be solved with AI from the ones that should be solved in another way.
Okay. And running these AI projects, how is it different from running a normal IT project? Maybe, Ilya, do you want to start on that one?
Yes, thank you. I think that, again, as we discussed, that access to the right data is a big challenge. And it might be that in other projects, you can live without end customer data for a very long time. In machine learning type of projects, you need to have access to the right data from the very beginning of the project. I think this is the biggest difference.
Okay.
Mikael?
Yeah, and I agree. But I also see two other things with these projects. One is that a AI project as such is like any project, right? You still need management buy-in, you still need a budget, you need a steering committee and stuff around that. So that's one thing, just get going. This is just a project. On the other hand, what is really different from traditional technology projects development is that I would sit down, run a technology project where I had all the smartest people in the room to begin with. I need the architect, the test lead, everyone, the designer, and then I would phase that out. And over time, that will go into production, and I can sit and monitor that the server is running on AWS, Google, or Microsoft, anywhere on these clouds. That's not the same with machine learning, right? It's different, because when you put these models into production, you become dependent on these models, and you need to retrain the models, you need to monitor the models, and you need to be constantly on top of that game. And there you still need smart people. Some of that you can solve with technology, but not all of it yet. So it's a very different process of efficiently taking this into production.
Perfect. Camilla, do you want to...
To some extent I agree, Mikael. But on the other hand, it would be nice if all projects were run like AI and machine learning projects, because I think what you're talking about, that we need to constantly develop and train and improve, we should do that on all projects.
I agree.
Yeah, maybe we don't do it with the old-fashioned IT products, but that's the reason why a lot of big corporates have legacy systems they can't control. So in essence, I think all projects should be run like an AI project, right? Trial and error, trial and error, trial and error, improve, improve, improve. So yes, there's a difference today. Hopefully there'll not be a difference in the future.
Cool. All right. So we got very nice with the questions on the screen. We'll get to them in a little bit. Our next another one for the group. So is there anything that you would so if you look back and when you first started with AI, is there something that you know today that you would have wished that you knew when you first started out? Camilla, do you want to start with that one?
But that's the very difficult one, right? I guess our friend at the end would have a very good input on that. But I think we all make mistakes when we do implementations. For machine learning and AI, I think the most common mistake that I've seen is sizing of the environment that you need. And that's especially regarding data. Because the algorithm in itself, or we run multiple, that's a smaller thing regarding sizing of environments. But if you don't know from the beginning exactly what data you're going to work with, then you're going to missize your setup. And then you have, not that it's not impossible, with an AVS it takes like 20 seconds to resize, but still it's cumbersome to have to change over and over again. And also the data modeling, if you don't know from the beginning where you want to go, then you can very easily stray on your data modeling and then have it built in the wrong way for the models that you're going to apply on it.
Yeah.
Then you have to rebuild, right? So.
Yeah, good point. Mikael?
Yeah, no, I think I'm down the same alley on this one, and also as before, the retraining, the monitoring and support of models. I think that's where the biggest surprises came to mind for me at least.
Okay. Ilya?
I think one of the challenges which we had and which we discovered is that sometimes your customer will give you a task which actually is very difficult to solve, but you can adjust a little bit the problem, the requirements, and the solution will be found. For example, there was a situation when it was necessary to try to predict if the customer is going to make a purchase. And the solution was actually not to predict that the customer will be able to buy something, but the fact that the customer will pick the phone and will answer. And in reality, it allowed operators to spend less time and to be more efficient and to generate more sales for the company. So very often you need to be able to understand the problem and to adjust it in the way that you will be able to solve it. Thanks.
Okay.
Yeah, actually, I have a little add-on to this, because most often when we engage with companies and we ask them, do you have data? People will say, yeah, we have data. Do you have data available? Yeah, we have data available. And they don't, right? They haven't they haven't qualified this with someone in the organization. So now when we run projects, we are sort of, even before we sign the contract with people, we are sort of, please go and make sure you have data available, because most projects have a halt in 2 to 3 months before we get the data. So that's just a discipline people need to grow up with, right?
And I think at least we see the same. Every time people think they have data, and they have data, but it's never what they think they have. It's always something different, and the quality is always also something different. So it's an interesting one. I think the next one I would like to dive into out of my list here is security about or around machine learning. So I think a good example is some years ago you probably remember the Microsoft example with the Tay AI chatbot that got basically hacked. People fed in some bad information into this bot, and after 24 hours or 48 hours, it was suddenly a neo-Nazi. And maybe not what Microsoft had envisioned when they launched this sweet and lovely bot out there. But it was a machine learning based bot. And we see the same type of challenge in general with AI. What should we do to make sure that our AI is secure and is not easily manipulated? Camilla, do you want to start up with that one?
So several things. First of all, be sure that your systems are not that easily hacked, right? So that's the no-brainer. Then the second one, I think, is that whenever you kind of transfer your machine learning into proper AI and have it retrain itself and run on its own, you have to have another layer of algorithm to do the surveillance of it, right? You can't trust anything, not the AI either. So put up the proper fences to protect and to find the outliers in what your modeling is doing, so that you don't suddenly stray.
Michael?
Yeah, I don't really have so much to add on that one. I of course agree that we need to be better to protect ourselves, but really companies like ours have to hide behind the protection of the big cloud provider security, right? There's no way we can ourselves build the same armor in these areas. So
yeah, but that's only for part of your system, right?
That's just part of our system, but it's the most vulnerable part and the area where we don't really want to be exposed to any of these things. Then I think we are seeing a sort of GDPR craze for the moment that is haunting all of us and making, in that sense, also our life more difficult. And it's not the last thing we have seen around security, data protection. So in that sense, I think it's going to be a pretty regulated area in years to come.
Perfect. Ilya?
Yeah, I think first of all I agree completely with previous speakers, but also I'd like to mention that this is the software, so we need to have system monitoring, which will monitor the software. Also, you might run integration tests, which actually will be executed on the regular basis, so you will see if something goes wrong with your software.
Perfect. Right, I think we'll just take a couple of questions from the floor. So the first one, how can you work with fintechs, corporates who wish or need to keep data on-premise, not in the cloud? Ilya, do you want to start out on that one?
No, I think that almost all software for machine learning is available as a set of libraries, so you can write your code and it will be run on-premise. The only thing is that you need to take into account the power of your computers, the memory and hard drive, but everything can be done on-premise.
Cool.
Yeah, and I will also say that, ideally we would like to put everything in the cloud with the big cloud providers. But we knew from the beginning, if we had to deal with the bigger banks, the bigger energy companies, we would have to put our solution on-prem. And I see many times when we go in and talk to someone, they think they can put it in cloud, but then someone, maybe in IT, maybe in audits, I don't know where, are going to tell them, it's not going to happen, right? We need to have this in our own data center. And that's just how it is still.
Cool. Anything to add, Camilla, or should we?
No, I think also the ethical part about it, if big companies want their data on their own premises, I think it's completely fine. It's not because they're trying to be cumbersome, it's just because they're trying to protect the users they have.
Exactly.
And I think there's no limit to how you can implement than just accommodate.
Good. Then the next one, I think, is also, I will pick the one, how does the implementation of AI technology currently affect organizational culture and structure? I think that's, there's something where we have seen, the large tech companies, the Googles and the Facebooks out there basically changing the way that they're organized. What have you guys seen? Michael, do you want to start off with that one?
Yes, sure. I don't think we're seeing the big transformations as I talked about before, but we will see them. We'll see them because implementing these algorithms will affect the organizations. It will affect the way people work. It will affect the way people produce products, the way they organize themselves, the way they do customer support, and so on and so forth. So there's a huge sort of backlog in implementing AI, and that's where we have to be realistic also in our business and work with consultancy houses, people who's used to organizational transformation. But that part is certainly going to be a major task in many organizations.
Yeah, I think a fun story from our side. We did an algorithm. We could see that the human employees who were doing the piece of work, they were right 95% of the time. On average, our algorithm was right 97% of the time, and still the humans said that no, they wanted to keep trusting their gut feeling. We're like, yeah, but it says right here. They didn't really care. Any comments also to the culture organization?
I think we are to see it. I think you're right. We're not seeing it yet. And I think, I'm actually not sure it's going to happen very soon. I think that's going to take some time before we actually start adapting and before we start taking it fully in, because I've seen a lot of what you're talking about as well, that there's maybe some kind of fear or reluctance.
Yeah.
And that influences so that we do not adapt fully, and when we do not adapt fully, we do not change the organization.
Exactly.
But it'll come, and then your company can take care of helping people, eh?
We would be happy to do so. Let's jump to the next question here. So we are running a little bit out of time. Also, what are the ethical consideration that companies should have when they work with AI or machine learning? Ilya, do you want to start with that one?
Well, I think there is a concern about unemployment caused by applying machine learning. In our situation, we had a project where medical personnel spent time significantly more than what needs to be spent now once we implemented machine learning algorithm. And from our perspective, it doesn't mean that the people will let go. It means that they will be able to help to bigger number of patients. So I think that there is a balance, even if it seems that some unethical impact may happen. In reality, it might be compensated by the fact that actually you will have more patients, you will have more customers, and so on.
Mikael?
Well, I think it's very good to have a debate, but I think the debate might be a little bit overheated. I think let's now focus on getting AI up running before we sort of shut it down, and then worry about shutting it down afterward. It's not going to take over the world tomorrow or the day after. So again, I think it's good with a debate, but I think we can also spend too much time debating the ethical implications here.
Camilla?
So honestly, I think that there is no added risk in ethics from machine learning and AI compared to what we did with data before. And in that essence, I think that it's more back to what Ilya is saying. It's about handling the change management of what it means to the organization. The math and statistics and processing power in itself will not add any risks.
Perfect. All right, coming up to the end here, I think I will just round up just to summarize, saying, yeah, it's a tool. It might be, coming back to the first question here, is there a bubble? I would say that it's at least it's a topic that's quite hyped right now. So you really need to look into how do you actually get it to work practically. And I think these are some of the guys who have done so, both locally and internationally. So thank you guys for some good input on the topic. Also want to wish everybody in the audience working with machine learning or AI or just getting started, the best of luck. And then enjoy TechBBQ. Thank you.
Thanks.